Episode 29, and I've been reading up on a very interesting arcade game. Actually, it's more of an urban legend. The history of it has been repeated over and over again. This doesn't mean I won't fill you in, but I feel I have a take to give on this, quote, arcade game, unquote, known as Polybius. Warning. Should I go missing due to the release of my little show and my take on if Polybius was real or not, then I must have been right. Government conspiracies, what do I think of them? I have my views on 9/11, I have my thoughts on what got us into World War I and II. I really think the government could care less about a few missing stat points known as human lives when you're that high up in politics and you're a crotchety old fucker far removed from reality and really think you can bring America back to the 1950s. And this covers almost everyone in Congress. But not to get off topic, this is something I recently researched and got very interested in. Did Polybius exist? It's a very good question. Do I exist? I don't know, but I like to think I'm just the imagination of myself. This thought was inspired by Bill Hicks. The history behind this game goes as such. In 1981, several suburbs near Portland, Oregon got a new arcade game out of virtually nowhere called Polybius. Its addictive nature would have crowds lined up around it and would sometimes cause violence among the players, not to mention daily visits from some men in black to collect data from it. The nature of the game would cause nightmares, amnesia, insomnia, fear of video games, and possibly suicide to the people who played it. After a short time, the game vanished without a trace. To this day, only a picture of the title screen exists, and that is it. Weird. Hold on for just a second there, myself. Nightmares, amnesia, insomnia, fear of video games, and possibly suicide. They re-released this as World of Warcraft, didn't they? This information is mostly taken from Wikipedia, since everything I've found on this game is pretty much a different rendition of the Wikipedia page on it. So, being the fact that I've lived around Chicago all my life and would only be 1 year old when this was out, it's safe to say that I have never played this arcade game. Yes, an episode of Arcade Recall with a game I haven't played. I guess I should change the name of the show to something else then. That's better. It's the strange stories behind this that got me hooked. I mean, was this plausible? Could it have happened? Could simple arcade goers have been used as guinea pigs for some weird experiment in sensory reprogramming? Maybe this would explain my own obsession with arcade gaming. They washed my brain! Given this is a show meant for humor, it's going to be hard for me to keep that happening while talking about something as spooky as this. I mean, a game that appeared and disappeared with almost no trace or explanation. I can't find any posters promoting it or anything, and I believe they did that in the early 80s, so what would the point of subjecting the public to this mind-altering experience be? That's between Polybius and those men in black who would collect data from it, and any body count caused from it. The footage you are seeing is a remake done by people's accounts who have supposedly played this game. The music in this episode isn't from the original game, thanks to the name on screen. There's almost nothing about this game existing other than what people have said. To me, who I would proclaim as a 90s arcade enthusiast, it looks like one of those old repetitive games where the goal is to just get a high score and that's it. I will say this, just watching the remake, the movement of things on screen is very hypnotic. This could be why the subliminal messages caused such harsh problems for the people who played it. Yeah, subliminal messages. If the game existed, it sure had tons of them. The developer was Sinneslotion, which basically meant sensory extinguishing, barring a slight German misspelling. There were also reports of sounds of crying in the background, sound effects, and just all around shady things happening as you played it. I've pretty much summarized everything I've heard about this earlier in the recall. If I missed a detail, that's fine since this isn't a full documentary on the subject, just a tiny little me talking about arcade machines like I normally does. My question is, what were the men in black doing? What kind of data could you collect in 1981? As far as I know, just high scores or maybe the amount of time a person played in one sitting. I'm pretty sure the smallest video camera in 1981 would be very obvious if it were sticking out of an arcade machine pointing a lens at you. Maybe there was a microphone to record the player when he lost and found out the most common swears used when this occurred. Maybe the men in black had an arcade cabinet originally and wanted to see if the public could beat their high scores on a bet, and when this did happen, they took all the machines back. Was this game available on home systems? No. What? No. It wasn't barely available to the entire public. Home consoles? What an absurdity to even think of right here. Does this game deserve a quarter? Well, going off my normal format, if you can find it and think you can resist the subliminal sensory reprogrammings, why yes, dive right in and swim around. The only problem is you most likely will risk drowning. A few rumors have surfaced since I wrote this over a year ago. I did, and I just wanted to save it for some reason. Even though Shigeru Miyamoto, Nintendo's golden boy, wasn't rumored to have worked on this, if you mention Polybius to him, his face may turn white with fear. Another rumor is that a Donkey Kong arcade cabinet in the Nintendo Museum is never turned on because the coding is stored within. This of course brings up the question, did Nintendo have something to do with it? I know Atari is the one that everyone familiar with the subject assumes had a part in it. It's also rumored that a cabinet was found in a storage locker in Portland, Oregon, the exact town that it may have been unleashed upon, and after an ad was posted online, it vanished. Does this exist though? It's just a matter of what people say. If it did, they did one hell of a job covering it up. If it didn't, then where would such a preposterous story come from? Why would someone have gone to the trouble of remaking this? Hell, the makers of The Batman and The Simpsons thought it existed, even if just for a joke. As for my own view, well, I like to think that it may have, but I still lack the proof necessary to say it definitely did. There's a lot of unexplained things out there, whether it be ghosts, the Bermuda Triangle, or even Minecraft as Herobrine. So as far as if I believe in the legend of Polybius, I'm gonna have to go with yes. As to why? I'm a believer in the odd and the unknown. Who's to say our government didn't do experiments on society? It's so very unlike them being so straight-laced and uncorruptible. MK Ultra. Arcade past, let's make it last. That's probably the government. I think I caught their attention. Hello?